They say love is blind. But what happens when the blindfold comes off and you realize the person you promised forever to isn't who you thought they were at all? My name is Sarah, and 3 weeks after I said yes to the man of my dreams, I discovered a truth that shattered everything I believed about love, trust, and the life I thought we were going to build together. This is my story. And I need to tell it because keeping it inside is killing me. Let me take you back to where it all started. 2 years ago, I met Daniel at a coffee shop in downtown Manhattan. I know, it sounds like something out of a romantic comedy, right? But that's exactly what it felt like. I was rushing to a meeting, completely frazzled, and I literally crashed into him. My coffee went everywhere. All over his white shirt. I was mortified. But instead of getting angry, he just laughed. This warm, genuine laugh that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. "Well," he said, looking down at his stained shirt, "I guess this means you owe me a coffee." And just like that, I was charmed. Daniel was everything I'd ever wanted. Successful marketing executive, sharp dresser, amazing sense of humor. He had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. When he looked at me, really looked at me, I felt seen in a way I never had before. Our first date turned into a 6-hour conversation. We talked about everything. Our childhoods, our dreams, our fears. He told me about growing up in Boston, about his parents who'd been married for 35 years, about how he wanted that same kind of lasting love. He told me he'd been waiting for someone real, someone authentic. "I'm tired of games," he said that night, reaching across the table to hold my hand. "I want something real, Sarah. I think I might have just found it." I melted. Completely and utterly melted. The next 2 years were a whirlwind. Daniel was attentive, romantic, thoughtful. He remembered everything I told him. He'd surprise me with my favorite flowers, book reservations at restaurants I'd mentioned wanting to try, leave sweet notes in my apartment when he stayed over. He met my family and they adored him. My mom actually cried when she met him, told me later that she'd never seen me so happy. My dad, who's usually skeptical of anyone I date, pulled me aside and said, "Sarah, this one's a keeper. Don't let him go." Daniel integrated into my life seamlessly. He became friends with my friends. He came to my work events and charmed all my colleagues. He was supportive of my career, encouraged me when I got promoted, celebrated every win with me. And when he proposed, it was perfect. He took me back to that same coffee shop where we met. He'd arranged with the owner to close it down for the evening, just for us. There were candles everywhere, fairy lights, our song playing softly in the background. Photos from our relationship displayed on the walls. He got down on one knee, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "Sarah, you are my home. You are my future. You are everything I've been searching for. Will you marry me?" I didn't even let him finish. I was already saying yes, tears streaming down my face, my heart feeling like it might burst from happiness. The ring was stunning. A vintage diamond set in platinum, exactly the style I'd always dreamed of. He'd paid attention to everything. We called our families. Everyone was ecstatic. My mom started planning the wedding immediately. My friends threw us an engagement party. We were floating on air, talking about venues and honeymoons and the beautiful life we were going to build together. I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. I had no idea that in just 3 weeks, my entire world would come crashing down. It started with something small. Something I almost dismissed. We were at my apartment, about 3 weeks after the engagement, planning our wedding timeline. Daniel's phone kept buzzing. Over and over again. He'd glance at it, silence it, and go back to our conversation. But I could see something in his expression. A tightness around his eyes. A tension in his jaw. "Everything okay?" I asked casually. "Yeah, just work stuff," he said quickly. Too quickly. You know how it is. I did know. Daniel had a demanding job. Late nights, weekend calls, urgent campaigns. It was normal. So I let it go. But the buzzing continued. And each time, he'd look more uncomfortable. Finally, I said, "Do you need to get that? It seems urgent." No, it's fine," he insisted, putting his phone face down on the table. "This is more important. Our wedding. Our future." He smiled at me, that same warm smile I'd fallen in love with. And I believed him. But here's the thing about intuition. Sometimes it whispers before it screams. And something in me, some tiny voice in the back of my mind, whispered that something wasn't right. I ignored it. Because I loved him. Because we were engaged. Because I trusted him completely. That night, after Daniel left, I couldn't sleep. His phone buzzing over and over kept replaying in my mind. The look on his face. The way he'd been so quick to dismiss it. I told myself I was being paranoid. That I was letting my own insecurities get the better of me. I'd been cheated on before, in a previous relationship, and I'd worked hard in therapy to not let that trauma affect my relationship with Daniel. But the feeling wouldn't go away. The next day, I tried to push it aside. I went to work, focused on my projects, met a friend for lunch. But my friend, Jessica, who's known me since college, immediately picked up on my energy. "What's wrong?" she asked, studying my face. "Nothing," I lied. "Everything's great." "Sarah," she said, leaning forward. "I've known you for 12 years. Something's bothering you." I hesitated. Then the words tumbled out. I told her about Daniel's phone, about the buzzing, about the weird feeling I couldn't shake. Jessica was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that would echo in my mind for days. "Trust your gut, Sarah. It's usually right." That evening, I decided to talk to Daniel about it. Not in an accusatory way, just an honest conversation. We were getting married. We should be able to talk about anything, right? When he came over, I made us dinner. We ate, talked about our days. Then, as casually as I could, I brought it up. "Hey, so, last night your phone was blowing up. Is everything okay with work?" His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Just for a second. Then he continued eating. "Yeah, just the Reynolds campaign. You know how demanding they are." "Right," I said, watching his face carefully. "It just seemed like it was really stressing you out." "It was," he said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "But I'm handling it. Don't worry about me, okay? I've got this." He smiled. Kissed my hand. Changed the subject to wedding flowers. And I wanted to believe him. I really did. But that night, after he fell asleep beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. His phone was on the nightstand, face down as always lately. And that whisper in my mind had become a little louder. I didn't look at his phone. I want to be clear about that. Not that night. I still trusted him. I still believed in us. But the seed of doubt had been planted. And over the next few days, things started to feel off. Daniel became more protective of his phone. He'd take it with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. He'd angle his screen away from me when texting. He'd get calls and step out of the room to take them. When I asked about wedding details, he seemed distracted. Disengaged. Like his mind was somewhere else. And then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday evening. Daniel had told me he was working late, that he'd come over around 10. I was at home, working on our wedding guest list, when Jessica called. "Sarah, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice tight with tension. My heart started pounding. "What? What is it?" "I was out with Mark tonight, and we were at that Italian place in Brooklyn, you know the one? And Sarah. I saw Daniel." My mouth went dry. "Okay?" "He said he was working late, maybe he grabbed dinner during a break or, Sarah, he wasn't alone." Jessica's voice cracked. "He was with a woman. And they didn't look like coworkers. They were holding hands across the table. She was. Sarah, she was wearing a ring too." The room spun. I couldn't breathe. "Are you sure it was him?" I whispered, even though I already knew the answer. "Positive. Mark saw him too. We didn't want to approach him, we didn't want to cause a scene, but Sarah, I had to tell you." I hung up the phone in a daze. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. There had to be an explanation. Maybe it was a client. Maybe the hand-holding was, what? What innocent explanation was there for hand-holding? And what did Jessica mean about a ring? I sat there for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. And then something inside me shifted. I was done making excuses. Done ignoring my intuition. Done being the naive girlfriend who chose to trust blindly. I needed answers. I grabbed my keys and drove to Daniel's apartment. He'd given me a key months ago, told me his place was my place. That we were a team. My hands shook as I unlocked his door. The apartment was dark and empty. He wasn't home yet. I stood in his living room, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I'd never snooped before. Never felt the need to. But everything had changed. I found his laptop on the dining table. It was open but locked. I knew his password. He'd told me once, said he had nothing to hide. I typed it in. The screen came to life. And what I found destroyed me. Email after email from a woman named Rebecca. Intimate emails. Love letters. Plans for their future. And then I found it. The attachment that made my blood run cold. Photos. Recent photos. Daniel and Rebecca at a restaurant. Daniel and Rebecca on what looked like a vacation. Daniel and Rebecca, at what appeared to be their own engagement party. I clicked through, my vision blurring with tears. There were text messages synced to his laptop. Messages from Rebecca from just 2 hours ago. "Can't wait to see you tonight, my love. Wear the cologne I like. Miss you already. Can't believe we're getting married in 3 months. Sometimes I still can't believe how lucky I am to have found you." I felt like I was going to throw up. I ran to his bathroom and dry heaved over the toilet, my body shaking uncontrollably. 3 months? They were getting married in 3 months? I went back to the laptop, my hands trembling so badly I could barely control the mouse. I dug deeper. And that's when I found the truth. The whole, horrible truth. Daniel wasn't just dating both of us. He was engaged to both of us. Leading completely separate lives. He'd proposed to Rebecca 4 months before he proposed to me. There were emails to wedding venues, to caterers, to photographers. He'd been planning 2 weddings. I found his calendar. The meticulous way he'd scheduled his time. Sarah marked on certain days, Rebecca on others. Business trips that I now realized were weekends with her. Late work nights that were dinners with her. Every "I love you" he'd said to me, he'd said to her. Every promise he'd made to me, he'd made to her. Every future he'd painted for us, he'd painted for them. I was living in a lie. A complete, carefully constructed lie. And the worst part? I found notes. Actual notes on his laptop where he'd documented details about both of us. Our favorite flowers. Our friends' names. Our families' birthdays. Stories we'd told him about our childhoods. He'd been studying us. Creating a database so he wouldn't slip up. So he could keep both lies running smoothly. I heard the door handle turn. Daniel walked in, saw me sitting at his laptop, and froze. For a moment, neither of us said anything. The truth hung between us like a living thing. "Sarah," he finally said, his voice careful. "What are you doing here?" I laughed. Actually laughed. A bitter, broken sound I barely recognized. "What am I doing here?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "I think the better question is, what have you been doing, Daniel? Or should I ask Rebecca that question too?" The color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I can explain." "Explain?" I stood up, fury and heartbreak coursing through me. "Explain what, exactly? Explain how you're engaged to 2 women? How you've been living 2 separate lives? How every single thing you've said to me has been a lie?" "It's not, it's more complicated than." "Don't." My voice broke. "Don't you dare tell me it's complicated. Don't you dare try to minimize this." Tears were streaming down my face, but I didn't care. I wanted him to see what he'd done. I wanted him to witness the devastation he'd caused. "How long?" I demanded. "How long have you been with her?" Daniel sank onto his couch, his head in his hands. 3 years, he whispered. The room tilted. 3 years? He'd been with her for 3 years, and he'd been with me for 2. We'd overlapped by a year before I even knew she existed. "Does she know about me?" I asked, my voice hollow. He shook his head. "No. Neither of you knew. Neither of us knew?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You made us both think we were the only one. You let us plan our lives around you. You let us believe." I couldn't finish. The sobs took over. "Sarah, please." Daniel stood up, tried to move toward me. I backed away like he was toxic. "Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me." "I love you," he said, and the audacity of those words made me want to scream. "I love you both." I couldn't choose. I didn't know how to choose. "So you chose to lie? To both of us? To destroy both of us?" "I was going to end it," he said desperately. "I was going to figure it out. I just needed time. I was yelling now, past caring if the neighbors heard. "You were planning 2 weddings, Daniel. When exactly were you going to figure it out? At the altar?" He had no answer for that. "Who else knows?" I asked suddenly. "Who else is in on this lie?" His silence told me everything. "Oh my God. Your friends know, don't they? The people I thought were our friends. They've all been lying to me too." "Not all of them," he said weakly. "Most of them think you're the only one. I kept my life with Rebecca separate. I don't want to hear this." I grabbed my purse, pulled off my engagement ring. It felt like poison on my finger. I threw it at him. It bounced off his chest and fell to the floor. "We're done. We're so far beyond done. Sarah, please, we can work through this. We can go to therapy. I'll end things with her. I choose you." I spun around. "You think I would ever trust you again? You think there's any universe where I would want to be with someone who could do this? Who could be this cruel, this calculating, this soulless?" I made a mistake. I laughed again, that same hollow sound. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is a drunken kiss at a bar. This is systematic deception. This is psychological abuse. This is you treating 2 human beings like we're characters in your twisted game. I moved toward the door. "Does she love you?" I asked, my hand on the doorknob. "Yes," he whispered. "Does she think you love her?" "Yes." I nodded slowly. "Then you need to tell her. Tonight. She deserves to know what kind of man she's engaged to. Sarah, if you don't tell her by tomorrow, I will. I'll find her. I'll tell her everything. Do you understand me?" He nodded, looking broken. But I couldn't feel sorry for him. Not even a little bit. "I hope it was worth it," I said. "I hope whatever made you do this, whatever hole inside you needed to be filled by 2 separate women's love, I hope it was worth destroying both of us." I left and didn't look back. The next few weeks were the darkest of my life. I told my family. My mom cried harder than I did. My dad wanted to drive to Daniel's apartment and, in his words, teach him what happens when you hurt my daughter. I had to talk him down. My friends rallied around me. Jessica came over every day for the first week, just sat with me while I cried. She helped me return wedding deposits, cancel vendors, send messages to guests that the wedding was off. The hardest part was explaining why. Everyone had loved Daniel. Everyone had thought we were perfect together. Having to tell them the truth, seeing the shock and horror on their faces, it made it real in a way I wasn't prepared for. I found out through a mutual friend that Daniel did tell Rebecca. She'd apparently thrown him out, blocked him on everything, and moved back to her parents' house in New Jersey. I wanted to reach out to her. I felt like we were sisters in trauma, bound by the same wound. But I didn't know if she'd want to hear from me. If seeing me would just be another reminder of what he'd done. Then, about 3 weeks after everything imploded, I got a message on social media from someone named Rebecca Mitchell. My heart stopped when I saw the name. Sarah, the message read. I don't know if you want to hear from me, and I'll completely understand if you don't respond. But I needed to reach out. I needed to tell you that I'm so sorry. Not for anything I did, I didn't know about you, but for what we both went through. What he did to both of us. If you're open to it, I'd like to talk. To meet, maybe. I think we could help each other heal. No pressure. Just know that I see you. I understand your pain. And you didn't deserve any of this. I stared at that message for hours before responding. But I did respond. And we did meet. Rebecca and I sat in a quiet cafe, two strangers bound by betrayal, and we talked for 4 hours straight. She was beautiful, kind, intelligent. Everything I might have been friends with under different circumstances. And as we shared our stories, compared the lies he told each of us, cried together over the futures we'd lost, something shifted. The pain was still there. The betrayal still burned. But sitting across from her, I realized something important. This wasn't about us. It had never been about us. Daniel's capacity to do what he did said nothing about our worth, our value, our lovability. It said everything about his character, his emptiness, his fundamental brokenness. Rebecca and I weren't victims of our own naivety. We were victims of a predator who'd seen our love as something to exploit. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed, Rebecca said at one point, tears in her eyes. How did I not see it? Because we weren't looking for it, I told her. Because when you love someone, when you trust them, you believe them. That's not a weakness. That's what love is supposed to be. We stayed in touch after that. Not best friends, but connected. Two people who understood each other's trauma in a way no one else could. Slowly, painfully, I started to rebuild my life. I went to therapy. I processed the betrayal, the grief, the loss of the future I'd imagined. My therapist helped me see that healing wasn't linear, that some days I'd feel strong and some days I'd fall apart, and both were okay. I leaned into my work, got another promotion. I reconnected with hobbies I'd neglected. I spent time with my family, strengthened those bonds. And gradually, the raw, bleeding wound started to scar over. I learned things about myself through this nightmare. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. That I can survive what I thought would break me. That betrayal doesn't define me, but how I choose to heal from it does. I learned to trust my intuition. To never again ignore that whisper in my mind that says something's wrong. I learned that love should never require you to doubt yourself, to question your reality, to silence your concerns. And I learned that closure doesn't always come from the person who hurt you. Sometimes you have to create your own closure, write your own ending to the story. It's been 8 months now since I discovered the truth. 8 months since my engagement imploded and my life fell apart. Some days are still hard. I see couples holding hands and I feel a pang. I hear a song that Daniel and I used to love and I have to fight back tears. I have moments where I wonder if I'll ever trust someone again. But most days I'm okay. More than okay, actually. I'm rebuilding. Rediscovering who I am outside of that relationship. Finding joy in small things. Learning to be whole on my own. I went on a date a few weeks ago. First one since Daniel. It was awkward and strange, and I spent the whole time comparing this new person to my ex. But I did it. I put myself out there. And that felt like progress. Rebecca texted me last week to tell me she'd started dating someone new too. Someone who treats her with respect, who's open and honest, who makes her feel safe. I was genuinely happy for her. Daniel, from what I've heard, moved to another city. I don't know if he's with someone new, leading another double life. I don't want to know. He's no longer my concern, no longer my problem. If you're watching this and you've been through something similar, I want you to know, it's not your fault. You didn't cause this. You couldn't have prevented it. The betrayal you experienced says nothing about you and everything about the person who betrayed you. And you will survive this. It doesn't feel like it right now, I know. Right now it feels like you're drowning, like the pain will never end, like you'll never trust or love again. But you will. I promise you, you will. Take it one day at a time. Let yourself feel everything: the anger, the grief, the confusion, the rage. Don't try to rush healing. Don't let anyone tell you to get over it or move on. Heal at your own pace. Lean on the people who love you. Go to therapy if you can. Talk about it, write about it, scream about it if you need to. And most importantly, remember who you are. Remember your worth. Remember that someone else's inability to be honest, to be faithful, to be decent has nothing to do with your value as a human being. You are worthy of real love, honest love, faithful love. Love that doesn't require you to question your reality or ignore your intuition. That love exists. I have to believe it exists, because the alternative is too dark. As for me, I'm done looking for the one. I'm done putting my happiness in someone else's hands. I'm done believing that being coupled up is the ultimate goal. Right now, I'm focusing on me. On building a life I love, with or without a partner. On becoming the kind of person I'd want to be with. On healing these wounds so that when love does come again, if it comes again, I'll be ready for it. The real kind. The honest kind. The kind I deserved all along. This is Sarah, signing off. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, trust your gut. It's usually trying to protect you.